The water, let the daughter find her image with the rest. She'll be learning how to breathe, spinning through identity, reveal another pretty little.
Hello, beautiful people. It's Linda Psychiatrist, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you guys were able to join me for another week of Lynn with God, where I share my journey on how God has transformed me in hopes to encourage you on your walk with Him. So this week we'll be talking about staying the course, making the impossible, or what people say is impossible, possible. You know, with our walk with Jesus, there are things that, people who don't believe in Him or their faith is not as strong may try and tell us, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, Like, why do you even think that you can dream that big? Or why do you even think that He will come through for you like this? Because I know who my Father is. Maybe if you got in line and you knew who Jesus was, like I knew who Jesus was, He can make a way when they say that there is no way. He's the light, the truth, and the way. Like, who you telling me? How you gonna tell me who my Father is? Like, I got it like that because I know who Jesus Christ is. All right, okay. So before I get too New York on you guys, let me literally jump into the Word, because I feel like the passage today that I will be sharing really gives me hope, and know that it's not only me who's guiding my steps. Jesus is making a way for me when it seems like there is no way. And the emotions that I feel sometimes, He felt them when He was here on earth. There's nothing that we go through that He does not know. So why do we worry? Why do we get so anxious? Why do we feel like we're alone? Okay. So the passage that we will be spending some time in today will be the book of John, specifically chapter 11. So during this time, this is when Lazarus dies, and Mary and Martha are very grieved. And we see the course of how Jesus kind of like takes over, intervenes, and gives glory to the Father by showing people miracles that can happen, when everybody with their eyes, they can't see the way that Jesus is making. We know with faith that all things are possible through Jesus Christ. So let's get started. Oh yeah, also I want to show you my new Bible, because I've been using my phone and writing stuff down, but getting a physical Bible, it really does change things. All right, so get that Bible. I read more now. Like, it comes more alive to me, and I get off of that phone. So if somebody texts me, I'm not responding back to you. I'm in the Word. All right, let's get to it. So I want to take you through the story, right? Jesus got word that Lazarus was sick, and Lazarus was Jesus' good friend. You understand? And I think sometimes we think like these characters are just characters, but these are real people. The friendship between Jesus and Lazarus shows us how we should keep Jesus as close to us like a brother, that Jesus is our friend. He's our companion. He's with us through times of trouble. So during this story, so the sister sent word to him, which is Mary and Martha, saying, Lord, our brother, your friend, whom you love, is sick, right? There are different degrees of friendship. There's different degrees of importance, but it was important for them to say who you love. There was that feeling attached to him and Lazarus, that companionship that was there, right? So when Jesus heard this, it's so important. In verse 4, He said, this sickness will not end in death, but in contrary, it will bring glory and honor to God. Whatever you're going through, insert it, right? This residency for me, okay? This residency will not end in my death. This financial struggle will not end in your death. This medical school will not end in your death, right? This unplanned pregnancy, let's get real, will not end in your death. And when I say death, it doesn't have to be physical death, but the killing of your spirit. It will not end in that. Why? Because the Lord is with you. The Lord will make a way. The Lord is there in times of trouble. Okay? So just know, whatever you're going through, stay the course. This will not end in your spiritual death or physical death. I claim that over you. Right? So it goes on and it says, now Jesus loved and was concerned about Martha and her sister and Lazarus, all of them, okay? So not just Lazarus, but all of them, because He considered them dear friends. Again, it highlights this friendship that Jesus had with all of them. The dear friends, the feelings of friendship that comes with that, right? So To the point that when he heard Lazarus was sick, he stayed in the same place for 2 days. What was he doing in those 2 days? He was grieving, he was mourning, he was praying to the Lord, he was taking time for himself, because people are going to come from him. He already knows his disciples will come for him and tell him something. These people will come and tell him something. There's some people who have said, if you were here in this time, if I would have done school 3-4 years ago, it would have been X, Y, and Z. If I would have done X, we make so much, and the God is preparing himself to be able to be patient, right? And deal with the things that may come. Deal with the things that he may hear. Sometimes you have to seclude yourself to be able to be so patient, right? That when you tell somebody that business idea, sometimes you don't even have to tell these people. Don't tell them nothing. But if you do so, please tell them, why? To bring glory to the Lord when it does come through. You have to subject yourself to certain words that you're going to hear, but you have to be patient with the Lord. You understand? With him. Okay. So Jesus jumps up. He's like, listen, after he's done, he said, let's go back to Judea. He tells his disciples, we're going back. And listen to what happens after this. The disciples said to him, Rabbi, Jesus, teacher, the Jews were only recently going to stone you. Do you remember back then? Like, they was ready to have your head. Lord, are you sure you want to go back there? Right? There are people who are going to come in your life and be like, for me personally, Lynn, are you sure you want to do psychiatry? I heard all the people you do are crazy. Are you sure, this is the lifestyle you want from me? And I'm like, yes. Because the Lord has already instilled it in me. He already put it into me. So if I'm not strong enough in my faith, I'm going to internalize it and say other things. Like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Maybe I should just leave the people to suffer on their own. No. Because if you don't do it, who will do it? If you don't make a way and break the foundation, who will do it? So that is one thing. And now they're like, are you really, Jesus, thinking about going back there again? Because don't you remember what you suffered? And you suffered for a good thing. You're suffering for a good thing. There's so many times we suffer for bad things. We wait in line for concerts. We do all these things, But you're suffering right now for a good thing that the Lord wants to do in you. And Jesus answered them. This is what he says. He says, are there not 12 hours of light in the day? Right? Anyone who walks in the daytime does not stumble, because he sees by the light of this world. So when you walk with Jesus, when you walk with the purpose, when you walk in authority, you will not stumble. Evil may come, yes, but it's nothing for you, because you know who your refuge is. You know who your strong tower is. You know who your safe place is, because you're walking by light. Who is light? Who's the way? Who's the one? Jesus and Lord, But they said, then Jesus says, but, that but is strong. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles, because there's no light in him. First of all, what you outside doing at night? I want to know. Like, tell me, what are you outside doing at night? There's only few things opens at night. I remember when I used to be outside in the nighttime in my past life. I could talk about it now because Jesus delivered me. But in my past life, I was wilding. I was outside all week. I was in the night, and nothing good came of it. Nothing good came of the nighttime. So now I sit myself inside, But it's just so funny because it's true. Like, those who walk at night in the darkness, they're going to stumble. They're going to fall. Because the only thing that's out there during that time is darkness. So, like, really and truly, what are you doing out there? Okay? So, Jesus goes on and says this. He says, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, But I'm going there to wake him up. So he's letting them know, like, in the context, like, no. I know they're saying, I know what the people are saying to you. I know the doubts that the people said about your field. I know the doubts that people said about your business plan. I know the doubts of what people have said. But I'm going to wake it up. I'm going to make a way. I'm going to provide something for you. Don't you worry. Don't fear. And then the disciples come and they're like, oh, Jesus, what do you mean? What do you mean sleep? What do you sleep? Like, what is that? They just said, his sisters just said that he's dead. Jesus comes back to them. Listen, I'm going to tell you plainly, the man is dead. The man is dead, but I'm going to raise him from the dead, right? And he says, and for your sake, I'm glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him, because if Jesus was there, he would have stopped the death from happening, obviously, But he's saying, for your sake, because your little faith that you have, I'm going to show you the real miracles that I can do. I'm going to show you that all of your doubts don't hold weight when it comes to me. And I love that. Because how many times have we doubted God? Like, God, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. Lord, I don't know. Like the record has shown that people who have done this in this area have failed. But you're with God. What do you have to worry about? Didn't it say a man who is in God, right, is a new creation? So why do you think you can't do what I have told you? Other things you have done that you have put a place in your heart. But I'm telling you something. And now you want to doubt? Come out of that. So the one thing that I liked after the Lord said, okay, I'm going to show you this miracle. After this, it says, then Thomas, who was also called the twin, right, said to his fellow disciples, let us go too, that we may also die with him. And we're not talking about physical death again, you understand? But so our flesh may die. The things that make us anxious may die. The things that worry us may die. The things that make us do the wrong thing may die. Because we have to kill our flesh every day. These things have to die. We have to walk in righteousness. So maybe if we see the works of God for ourselves, we now can believe a little bit more and kill that. So I'm going to go into this next thing, and this next thing also shows you that in me, that the things that grieve us grieve God as well. It's not just like, oh, we're crying and we're crying out to God, like, God, don't you hear us? Don't you hear our tears? Don't you hear the things that we're going through? The Lord hears. The Lord hears, and he's just like, okay, what grieves you grieves me as well. There's times that the Lord has wept. So Mary gets word that Jesus is also there, and she comes out, right? And Mary came to Jesus. She, fell on his feet, saying to him that, Lord, if you would have been there, my brother would not have died. How many times have we confronted the Lord and said, Lord, if you were just there, if your hand was in it, this X, Y, and Z would not have happened. And the first thing that I want to tell you is the Lord was always there. He was present. He knew what was going on. There are some things that have happened to us that the evil does take over, right? And we're like, Lord, where were you? Where were you, Lord? And I don't get why you didn't show up and just change the way that these things happen. And there are other things that the Lord has said, like, I'm going to make the pace of this lower than what you're expecting. So that when it's done, it was only through me that this could have been done. That it was only through my goodness and my grace that I have on you, and me refining and perfecting you, that I could have allowed you to see, because sometimes we get so big of ourselves, like, oh, it's me. No, it's not you. It's the Lord. So he's saying, because I had to take you through that process, now you know, and you can proclaim it's me who did a good thing in you. Right? So it said that when Jesus saw her sobbing, and the Jews who came with her also sobbing, he was deeply moved in the spirit, to the point of anger at the sorrow caused by death, and was troubled. And he said, where have you laid him? And they said, Lord, come and see. And this time Jesus wept. So the things you cry about, Jesus is also concerned and worries about that too. Not worried. Okay, so let me not say that. The things that you worry about, because you're in a state of emotional distress, that grieves Jesus, that grieves the Lord. For the things that you care about, he cares about as well. So I know sometimes people are like, oh, okay, like I don't feel God. That does not mean that God doesn't feel the things that you feel. But the one thing that I love about this story is that you have the naysayers that are saying, well, Jesus, couldn't the same man that you said has, made a lame man walk and a blind man see, be the person who raised, Lazarus out of kept him from dying? And that's what you will hear in your life sometimes. Like the same God that you serve, where was he? In my life, sometimes I could be like, okay, when I went through this, God, where were you? But yes, he did X, Y, and Z for these and that people. You know, you look at other people, okay, he was able to bless this person, that, but you don't know their journey. You don't know what they went through. You don't know how it came about to be this. You only see the final product, you know? And that's the same thing with this situation. You don't know what that person who he made what had to go through. You understand? Everyone has their own journey and their own path. So he goes on and he says, he tells sister like to remove the stone. And Martha said, like, Lord, by the time we remove the stone, this man has been dead. By the time we remove the stone, there's going to be offensive odor. The Lord said, listen, do you want to see this man walk or not? Like, what is it that you want? You called me to bring him out the I'm going to do that, you know? I'm going to do that. Whereas if you worry about the odor, I'm worried about making this man alive again. What is going on? You know? That's the Lord. He's like, you worried about this one? I'm worried about turning your life around. You worry about your rent. I'm worried about you being a funnel of financial gain for other people. What's going on? So the Lord says, and I love this, what he says, did I not say to you that if you believe in me, you will see the glory of God, the expression of his excellence? The Lord is saying, did I not tell you that if you follow me and obey me, I will show you works and wonders that other people will say that how did this person get this? How did this and that occur? You know, who is behind this person? You know, how did they get to this level? Because of God? Like, there's nothing that I can give, you know, recognition or proclaim in my life besides God. Like, fall in line. I need y'all to understand who governs me. Sometimes you got to be bold in the faith. Tell the people. Don't be afraid to tell the people. And the one important statement, it says, I knew that you always hear me and listen to me, but I have said this because of the people standing around, so they may believe that you have sent me and that you have made me your representative. And this is what Jesus is saying to the Father, you know, I thank you for hearing me. And a lot of times, before we even ask God, just already thank him for hearing you. Thank you for even making a way for this situation that you knew I was going to ask you about and still providing for me, you know. And sometimes just thanking him for not only increasing my faith, but increasing the faith around me, the people around me, so they know who the real truth, the way, and the light is. It's very important for us to walk in boldness with God, you know. And in my own personal life, you know, a lot of you guys know I did not ask for this YouTube thing. Like, I was done with YouTube. You know, I posted it. I was like, okay, checking out. See you later. I'm going to live my life. And God called me back to YouTube for a different reason. To proclaim the gospel, right? And he said, okay, now it's time to transition into TikTok. And I'm like, Lord, you know, I have no business over there. I don't want to do that. But he also reminded me when I was in the world, I was so easily to post on Instagram and TikTok. I didn't think twice. So why are you scared now? For what unbelievers may think or what unbelievers may say? No, I'm going to guide your steps. I'm going to guide your path. I'm going to make a way for you that people will only know. Like, it's through, they will question you, actually. The people will question you. They won't know, but you will know it's through me that you got this way. So just know that when things seem impossible, God will make a way. He will make a way, and you have to give glory to him for that. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Take care of yourselves.